As we reported earlier in the week, Brayden Bushby, the Thunder Bay man charged with manslaughter in the death of Barbara Kentner, is back behind bars. Bushby was granted parole in August of 2023, but violated the conditions of his parole over the past year. For more on this, our Truth in Politics panel is here. Jennifer Lewitz is a partner with Pasqua Harbor Strategies, and Negon Sinclair is a columnist with the Winnipeg Free Press. Jennifer, let's start with you. Bushby was serving an 8-year manslaughter sentence for his role in the death of Barbara Kentner after he threw a metal trailer hitch at her from a moving vehicle. Were you surprised he was granted parole last year?
I want to say that I was surprised, but with the devaluing of Indigenous women's lives, I'm really not all that surprised, paired with, our justice system that seems to be devaluing of our women's lives as well. And it's really unfortunate that he was granted parole so quickly, and seeing his actions right after getting granted on parole and breaking his parole conditions with drinking and getting tattoos that have some pretty problematic underlying issues behind them really tells me that he didn't even learn anything while he did spend a very little amount of time in prison.
Negon, this was a very high profile case. What do you think it says that he was granted parole so early into his sentence?
It just says exactly what Jennifer points out, which is that if this had been, let's say, a wealthy, non-Indigenous person who was high profile or known for instance, in the community publicly, this would be somebody who would be certainly in jail for a lot longer. There would be a much bigger outcry that people would worry about when releasing someone like this into the public. And not only that, but there would also be much more stronger stringencies put into place to make sure that they were kept in the roll line with their parole restrictions. I mean, this was really just a fluke that Bushby was caught. It was in allegedly a motor vehicle incident in which a breathalyzer proved that he was consuming alcohol, breaking his parole. So the fact is, it was kind of just a fluke that this was caught. And on top of that, on the recommendation of his parole officer that he would be sent back to prison, the question is really, without all of the different attention that we as Indigenous media, other people within the community on social media are paying for this person who did this horrible, horrible crime, would there have been something done? And my answer would be likely not.
Jennifer, Bushby violated a number of his conditions during his release, but the parole board decision to put him back in prison mentions on a number of occasions a tattoo of a Confederate flag, which you mentioned there, that Bushby got on his chest while on parole, something Bushby says he didn't realize until it was done. What do you think of getting that tattoo, given its history and its associations?
I think this is definitely where critical thinking comes in. And I know there's a lot of people out there, I live in Saskatchewan, where sometimes you see those flags that are flown. And I think not understanding the dark history behind the evolution of those flags, especially as it pertains to the United States and everything like that. And honestly, I'm going to be frank, I don't believe him. I don't think that most people go in and get tattoos like that without understanding what it is that they're getting tattooed on their body. And what concerns me is the connection there between somebody non-Indigenous committing such a heinous crime against an Indigenous woman, spending very little time in prison where you are supposed to be rehabilitated, getting let out fairly soon, and just continuing on to do things that are very, very questionable. Not only what does that tell us about how that individual views the crime that he committed, but also people that are watching this from the outside in. How does that protect our women and protect our Indigenous people across the country when our justice system is basically telling everyone out loud that there's a very little amount of value placed on our lives?
Negon, Bushby is eligible to apply for parole again next summer. Does Bushby deserve another shot at being released?
There was a report that was entered into evidence suggesting that Bushby has no history or no evidence of hatred towards Indigenous peoples. that tells me that there are a number of people complicit within the system that are clearly just not listening and not watching to see what a person does. Sometimes it's what you do as much as what you say or don't say. And evidence of this tattoo is showing that this person is festering or flirting with supremacist beliefs that have at times supported the hatred of racialized people, particularly African Americans, but I think not so far off Native Americans, Indigenous peoples like ourselves. And so the system is really failing on this story particularly, and we can really see the justice system in Canada, and particularly in Northwestern Ontario, as being complicit with a person who is clearly showing signs, red flags of hatred of Indigenous peoples, not just in the egregious action of the crime that he committed, but is that it's ongoing and that it's not changing. And so the system is not assisting this person to then eradicate their racist beliefs. And I think that's a condemnation on everyone, not just the individual who's involved, but also that the entire system and everybody involved in that system and Canadians.
Egon and Jennifer, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, me thanks.